So is this our house here? Was our house?
We've come back to our apocalypse of a house.
Careful, sweetheart.
I'm trying to walk through it like there's still hallways. It's just unrecognizable.
Okay, walking through the kitchen, over the kitchen.
It's crazy how little stuff is actually left. Here's my dishwasher. And I saw something that I was wondering if it survived. Yep, a little Christmas-themed cup. Here in Big Rock, there are a lot of people that inherited homes that were purchased for less than my property tax payment. There are people that bought their house with everything they had. We did. And a lot of people were in a difficult financial situation already before this. We were. Big Rock is the most beautiful community that I've ever been a member of. Just knowing the people on the street, I don't think you get that a lot anymore these days.
It's kind of like mining. I find gems all the time. The people here are gems, the environment. The people that live here are extremely invested.
In Malibu, despite its global fame, it's a small town. We're like 10,000 people.
Our neighbor here, her father built all these homes, so she's lived here all her life and since the houses have been here. So, I mean, they're all just normal, regular people. It's just knowing the neighbors, and we have our block party every year that Colin and I usually plan. We are very committed to this community. We love this community. Everybody in this neighborhood loves each other.
This is the home that my parents built in 1962. We've been raising my daughter in the house that I was raised in. And so this is pretty devastating to all of us. I have a 12-year-old daughter. This is her greatest fear. This was what she was afraid of.
Our home had burned in the 1993 fire, so we knew what it was like to go through losing your home, and we just decided we weren't going to do that again.
We had thought about this, and we drilled for it. We had practiced for it. We have 30,000 gallons of water, 600 feet of fire hose, of fire pump.
In case all the work we did failed, we had a backup plan. We put our scuba tanks into the pool, which allow you to breathe underwater. You can stay underwater for well over an hour.
Multiple structures burning on the ocean side of PCH. Fire is 10 minutes from impacting a Big Rock.
For days, we were getting all these alerts about this high wind event that was going to come and that it was going to be dangerous.
This is unprecedented. Get ready. I would have expected LA City to be similarly prepared.
All of PCH is on fire right now. It is like driving through hell itself down here.
So if you can imagine standing here and seeing these huge flames coming, nothing's stopping them. They're just coming right at you.
I decided, since I'm 80, that I don't really want to start from scratch with another house. I said, Thomas, do you think we could defend the house, you and me, together? And he said, okay, Mom. And so we did what we had to do.
All right, hey, fires impacting Big Rock.
There were some things exploding around. It felt like war.
She went boom, boom, boom. It wouldn't stop. And I said, I'm not in Vietnam, like a war zone.
And you hear big explosions, and there you don't feel too cocky.
I literally thought we're gonna, burn alive. I mean, I thought it was gonna be a catastrophe.
The air was filled with red, and you had the roar, that was the wind.
The smoke was so thick, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see the hood of my car. I'm thinking, I'm just gonna drive through this and get out of it. And I stepped on the gas, and I ended up where you see now. I'm trying to back up, and my car won't go forward, it won't go back. I didn't realize I was stuck on this boulder, and the fire's right below me, right here. I'm calling 911 over and over. I finally get a hold of somebody, and he's not saying anything because I think they're just overwhelmed with all the 911 calls. And I think he knew at that point that the fire department wasn't able to get to me, and I think he didn't want to tell me that. I realized I was literally on my own. So I started praying to God, please let me die from smoke inhalation. Please do not let me be burned alive.
LA Fire is stretched so thin right now that they put out an all-call asking any off-duty firefighters to come and help them fight these fires.
The city fire department was underfunded. The LA City Council voted to slash millions from the fire department budget, and the vote wasn't even close.
Was the budget cut? Yes, it was cut, and it did impact our ability to provide service. We are still understaffed, we're still under-resourced, and we're still underfunded.
We've got a city that's burning. We've got a mayor that's out of the country. There's no water coming out of the fire hydrants. The brush up in these hills, I would bet you that they haven't been removed for probably 30 or 40 years. This was a disaster waiting to happen.
Rick Caruso, the Los Angeles billionaire, he was just exposed for hiring private firefighters to save his shopping center in the Palisades while families were literally losing their homes. Talk about a guy who loves to point at problems and has the ability to help people, but only decides to help himself.
During the night, I was constantly saying to myself, when is fire support gonna come? Because this was exhausting.
We're all sitting in the living room. We're listening to the LA County firefighting communications, and we hear a firefighter come on, and he says, the fire just passed Tuna Canyon. The next neighborhood is Big Rock. He's pleading for resources, and the dispatch basically says, stand down.
He said, stand down.
When I heard that, I really just lost any hope.
My eyes were just bloodshot and red. It was kind of a scary moment. I thought I had some permanent vision loss.
I dissociated a little bit and was like, what are you doing here? What are you feeling? What am I feeling? I was like, that's fear.
I realized during the night that as long as we have water, we can keep doing this. We can just keep going. I felt like we could contain the situation.
I ran over here to my to the water faucet, and that was the first time I noticed that water pressure had dropped.
It's kind of absurd thinking there's no water in a hose anymore, and we can only use bucket water from hot tubs and swimming pools. I must have hauled hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water.
Having a reservoir in the highlands that has been empty for a year is negligent. There is a massive systemic failure here.
The rest of the night, I basically sat on this chair and kept watch, and whenever a hotspot emerged, I put it out again. About 10:30 was the first time that I was like, okay, this is under control now. At that point, I thought the house was good. We have also a group chat here in the neighborhood, and people asked, did anybody stay? And I said, yeah, I stayed, and I can go around later and let them know if the house is still standing or not. I made a list of street and the house numbers, and then I had a few very difficult phone calls to make.
I saw Arno, and I said, Arno, I'm glad you have a house. And he said, well, I have to drive around and write down all the numbers of the burnt homes.
I went up the 1st Street, 2nd Street. As I came back down the 3rd Street, I see a house ablaze. I look over to my right to the rough distance where my house is, and I see smoke coming up. 20-foot flame coming out of my living room window.
I saw it, and I said, well, where's Arno? Because he might have been able to save it.
Look down and see my neighbors in my house on fire and just think, Obi, how could I have left him in the house? Is the dog still in there? I mean, it's a big dog, 100 pounds, he's smart. If there's a dog that makes it out, I figured it would be him, but I didn't know. So I get back into the car, drive around, and then there was that fire truck, and the firefighters are just watching the houses burn.
He did all the volunteer work, and here, in the meantime, his house goes up in flames.
Took a last picture of my burning house and said, okay, I want to see my family now.
Tough to see because almost every family home of everyone that I've ever known in Malibu was destroyed in this fire. This is about the most cruel fire I've ever seen. We had 2 people die here in Big Rock. We're looking for answers. They didn't pre-deploy. The fire chief immediately threw the mayor under the bus.
Does the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city? Yes.
Anguished locals filled Malibu town hall meeting looking for both accountability and answers. A dais packed with state and local officials fielded questions and criticism for hours.
A domino of failures led to our devastation. What are you going to do about it?
We were forgotten, and that's why people are so angry.
Law enforcement outnumbers fire departments more than 10 to 1. Evacuations are a very staff-heavy operation. It requires people, boots on the ground. They should have already been there. The LA City fire and LA County fire, they should have already drawn up their pre-deployment plans. Okay, and what's the evacuation plan? How do we do that? What is the trigger points that's gonna cause us to evacuate? And how do we alert the public? All these things are supposed to be happening. They didn't happen. It's the sheriff of LA County. That's his job. That's why you got people that were caught dead in their tracks fleeing the Pacific Palisades, abandoning their cars. There's so many lessons that are going to be learned from this fire of how not to do things and how to do better.
People said that it was that the firefighters had orders not to go into the community because it was too dangerous for them. Yet I was here with 2 garden hoses, able to protect my house. I believe if there had been 10 fire trucks, 5 fire trucks, they would have saved a few houses early in the beginning, and those houses would not have set other houses on fire. And a lot more houses would have survived. I'm very sure my house would still be standing.
Can you just show us some of your tools that you use that night?
The tools, yeah. Garden hoses.
2 years of record rain, which means record growth of underbrush. 8 months of no rain and high temperatures, record heats, which means everything dried up. So now you got a ton of fuel everywhere.
The MRCA, who owns these mountains, Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority, doesn't do brush clearance, doesn't maintain fire breaks, doesn't maintain fire roads. They acquire land, and then they don't maintain it.
So Joe Edmonston, he is a landman. He is brilliant at acquiring land. When it comes to maintaining land, there's none. And there's not a budget for it from what he's told me.
So Joe, he's on North Beirut. You can see his address was burned. I'm sorry he lost his home, but that you would think would be an educational moment for the MRCA and Joe to just look at fuel modification behavior and change that behavior. The people in Malibu here are not happy with his occupancy in that role that he's playing.
I love the Joint Exercise of Powers Act. Any two government agencies can get together and pretty much write their own agenda and write their own powers.
Wade Major.
Living next to MRCA-administered land has become increasingly like living next to a hoarder who stacks yellowing newspapers in the house and rusting canisters of gasoline in the backyard. For decades, we've warned that we needed controlled burns, fire road maintenance, and robust resource management. And in return, we get nothing but condescension and vitriol from the slumlord of the Santa Monica Mountains. Joe Edmiston's appetite for acquisition without accountability has done unspeakable harm to these fragile hills. It is just a stream of brush, and it builds up a head of steam, and by the time it got here, it was a monster. It had just eaten and eaten and eaten and grown and grown and grown. If you have a certain volume of brush, it adds that much more energy and deadliness to the fire. So when you remove brush, you're reducing the fire's ability to grow, to intensify, and to become deadlier.
I live in the mountain, right? My backyard is MRCA land. When I take a hike out there, the brush today is taller than me, and I'm about 5'8.5". I'm looking at it going, oh my God, this is Palisades 2.0.
A fire break would help. Brush thinning, goats, which, as you well know, was going to come to this neighborhood until some people got involved and said they didn't want it. And they weren't your neighbors either. They were people from the outside that didn't want that. And I know 12 projects that were shut down because of this. Projects would come on the table, fire department would put them out there, and somebody would hammer them down.
The fire department had arranged for a controlled burn above our hillside so that they could clear it for a fire break. And Sheila Kuehl said no because the environmentalists were saying the chaparral is important and we need to keep it. But now all the chaparral is gone. Everything's gone.
If you go up this road, you will see dead animals. You will see dead coyotes. You will see dead squirrels. You will see dead rabbits. You will see dead birds who get caught in the smoke and don't know where to go. Is that environmentalism? Killing animals?
I work with environmentalists. I'm part of the environmental regimen of the Santa Monica Mountains. However, if you don't have a clear understanding of a controlled burn, the heat, it acts like a chimney in your house. It goes straight up and disperses up in a higher atmosphere. All that heat energy goes up. With the Pali fire or the Eaton fire, the animals have no chance to escape. The heat consumes them, they catch on fire, and they spread the fire. When it's heat going straight up, they feel the heat, they move away. But you'll find that the environmentalists in this condition are prevailing, and they stop the controlled burns.
Climate change didn't start the fire. The winds didn't start the fire. Letting nature run wild isn't good for nature. This is what happens when nature runs wild.
There is no leadership. I'm sorry to say that. I mean, where are the leaders? It was more than pathetic.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning?
I know that there is gross mismanagement in Los Angeles. We know that because they're all pointing fingers now.
We have breaking news now. We are now just getting word LA Mayor Karen Bass has met with and removed Kristen Crowley as fire chief effective immediately.
Now I will set the record straight. I did not refuse to conduct an after-action report. I said that the LAFD is not capable, nor do we have the proper resources to adequately conduct an after-action report for the Palisades fire. We are already understaffed, under-resourced, underfunded. As for the 1,000 firefighters who allegedly were sent home prior to the fires, we did not have enough apparatus to put them on. Because of the budget cuts and lack of investments in our fleet maintenance, over 100 of our fire engines and ambulances sat broken down in our maintenance yards. It is also a false allegation that we failed to notify the mayor's office about the upcoming weather event.
We are only as strong as our infrastructure, and our infrastructure is falling apart. If we're going to inhabit this place, if we're going to rebuild back better, if we're going to give people hope, then we have to actually really try better, do better.
When you're in the burn zone, it's like being in a war zone. You see the destruction, you see nothing but destruction, you see burn scars. I mean, looking here at the hills now, seeing the grass kind of popping back through all of the burnt brush. That's the way we are. You know, that's my example. I'm gonna be like the grass. I'm not gonna be like the burned trees. So the hills are kind of our reminder. The hills are healing, they're coming back, and we have to help each other come back.
I've been extremely impressed with Big Rock. The resiliency that, I mean, their homes burned. And some people would give up, and they would move, and they would say, I'm not doing this, this is crazy. The amount of mobilization that they've done and the initiative that they have taken, they're talking to their senator, they're talking to their elected officials, they're making plans, they have vision. I'm inspired by them, right? Like, I get energy knowing that they're working hard, they're being diligent, they're being respectful, they're trying to work with the city, and now it's a matter of if the city will work with them.
We had a certificate that his great-great-grandmother got from Abraham Lincoln, because she was one of the first postmistress generals of the United States during the Civil War, when her husband was the postmaster and was killed during Vicksburg. So our neighbor Blake went in the house and grabbed it for us. So we're very grateful that he got it, and he's here to give it back to us, right?
Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You want to take it, hon?
Oh.
So it's signed by Abraham Lincoln here and here.
Thank God.
Yeah.
God.
Thank God. At least one thing.
That really would have been too much. Buddy. Yeah. It means so much.
We're so grateful. Amazing.
It's nice to see, like, you know, the love that can come.
I cried a few times since, but not about a single thing that I lost. I cried that morning when my house was still standing and I walked down the street and saw the destruction of the houses of my friends and neighbors. And I cried upon recognizing the love that is pouring into us as a family right now. That really mean when they say, is there anything I can do for you? And then when something comes to mind, actually do it. My decision is clear. Humans are good. Humans are good, and I'm very happy to be one and have so many around me.
Yeah.
My firefighter son.
Yeah, hey, Mom. Mom and I, we were a great firefighter team that night. Good team.
Well, I'm happy we could do it.
Yeah.
See, Buddha's there. Buddha's good. He's smiling.
Paradise, but there you go again, saying everything ends, saying you can't depend on anything or anyone. If the end of the world was near, where would you choose to be? If there was 5 more minutes, oh, where would you panic and hide, or run for your life, or stand here and spend it with me?
There's a big educational piece, and I really wish I knew the answer. People
don't have a mindset that it could really happen to them. There's so much focus on your home. I have a right to have my tree. Well, if your tree is going to set that house on fire, that's not really the way to think about it. If our home had burned, those two would not be staying. The fire department came in and said that the way to think about it is, as a community, how can we make ourselves really resilient?
We have pumps, we have the pools, we have water. And I want every community that stays in Malibu to be its own micro community of self-reliance, because you cannot assume that the government will come for you.
I don't want to be all alone again when the next fire comes through, because that's not an if, that's a when. Otherwise, we're just putting up tinder.
Paradise, but there you go again, saying everything ends, saying you can't depend on anything or anyone. Hari Shakti, Hari Shakti, Hari Shakti, Namo Namo, Sarava Shakti, Sarava Shakti, Sarava Shakti, Namo Namo. Ritamba